All right, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we are digging into a framework that I recently came across. And honestly, it completely reframes how we operate day to day. We are looking at mastering the hand, the EPX method for peak performance. Now, I think we've all had those moments, right? Those days where we feel totally at the mercy of our circumstances, just kind of swept up in the chaos of a bad break. But what if we could find a specific edge to push our lives from this state of passive reaction into active, commanding peak performance? Well, that is exactly what we're going to figure out today. We're going to unpack the mechanics behind stepping out of that reactive, victimhood mindset and stepping fully into a space of absolute excellence. It is a fascinating shift, so let's get started.
Okay, Section 1, Dealing Life's Cards, the hand you have.
To really grasp this method, we first have to ground ourselves in a foundational metaphor. Namaste. Life's a card game, we don't choose the cards we're dealt. It is such a simple, universally acknowledged truth, yet I find it's exactly where so many of us get permanently stuck. I mean, think about it. We spend endless hours agonizing over the fact that someone else got dealt pocket aces. Maybe they had better funding, more connections, a literal head start, while we're sitting there holding an unsuited 2 and 7. We just don't get to rig the deck. You might spend 6 months planning a massive product launch, and literally the day before you go live, a competitor drops a market-shifting update. Or, you suddenly get hit with a terrible flu. You didn't choose that starting environment. Acknowledging this reality isn't about being pessimistic at all. It's profoundly grounding. It sets the baseline. We simply do not choose the initial setup.
But here is where the pivot happens, and it's a completely empowering realization. Success isn't about luck. It's about how well you play the hand. You see, the amateur player focuses entirely on the deal. They just sit at the table waiting for that one lucky break to finally happen to them. But the master? The master knows the deal is just the starting parameter. Consistent peak performance relies entirely on personal agency. It is all about the gameplay. You can put 2 people at a table, deal them the exact same impossible hand, but the one who understands the mechanics of the game, the one who calculates the odds and plays their cards with absolute intention, they will always come out on top. Honestly, it's a huge relief to realize that our gameplay is what actually manufactures our success, not just some random shuffle of the universe.
Moving right along to Section 2, Owning Your Next Move, Achieving Real Growth.
If we accept that success is based on the play and not the deal, well, our mindset has to fundamentally shift. We have to figure out what separates the people who stay perpetually stuck from those who consistently evolve. And the source material hits on a really stark contrast here: pointing fingers versus checking yourself. When a project goes off the rails or a client walks away, the default, unevolved human reaction is pointing fingers. It is so incredibly tempting to blame the changing algorithm, blame the stubborn client, or even blame the fact that the coffee machine was broken that morning. But checking yourself, now that is the peak performance mindset. It is absolute total internal accountability. It means looking inward and asking, okay, how did I play that? What could I have communicated differently? It is the complete abandonment of those easy external excuses in favor of a much more powerful internal ownership.
So how do we actually operationalize that kind of accountability in the heat of the moment? There are 3 relentless steps. Take your power back, own your moves, and correct your game. Imagine you're in a high-stakes negotiation. You say the wrong thing, and the temperature in the room instantly drops. When you immediately get defensive and point fingers in your head, you are literally giving your power away to the other person. You have to stop and take your power back. Next, own your moves. Good or bad, claim what just happened. You played the card, you said the words, own the consequence. And finally, correct your game. Actually, scratch that. This isn't about sitting there feeling guilty or embarrassed. It is a clinical, immediate adjustment. You take a breath, you adjust your strategy, and you pivot your approach on the very next sentence. Take the power, own the action, adjust the strategy. It's incredibly fast, and it completely changes the dynamic of any room you're in.
Which brings us to Section 3, Mastering the EPX Method, the Mechanics of Excellence.
So we've established the mindset, right? Accepting the hand, stopping the blame game, owning the play. But how do we actually become better players? What actually is EPX? I found it fascinating that it's not just some corporate buzzword, it's actually a structured progression. EPX stands for the Evolve, Perform, Excellence method. First, you evolve past your initial emotional reactions and accept the hand you were dealt. Then, you perform with high-level calculated action right there in the present moment. And through that continuous, intentional cycle of evolving and performing, you eventually reach a consistent state of excellence. It's like a continuous looping methodology for refining exactly how we interact with the world around us.
Now, what really blew my mind was discovering the actual engine driving this method. How does it guarantee that evolution in performance? By integrating three incredibly potent psychological disciplines: hypnosis, neuro-linguistic programming, often called NLP, and behavioral science. The ultimate goal here is to help us master communication and negotiation skills, because let's face it, life's card game is played almost entirely through our interactions with others. Let's demystify this a bit. Behavioral science helps us understand why someone might suddenly cross their arms and lean back when you mention a project budget. NLP helps us understand the language of the mind, allowing us to mirror clients' tone or reframe a problem so they see it as an opportunity, which builds instant, profound rapport. And incorporating focused subconscious awareness from elements of hypnosis, that allows us to bypass all the mental noise and communicate with absolute, persuasive clarity. By layering these sciences together, we aren't just blindly throwing cards down. We are reading the table, we are understanding the unspoken stakes, and we are communicating our strategy flawlessly.
So we've covered the reality of life's unpredictable setup, and we've contrasted the trap of pointing fingers with the incredible power of checking yourself and taking ownership. We've also unpacked how integrating advanced behavioral sciences gives us the ultimate edge in communication and negotiation. You can't control the deal, but will you master the play? The tools for excellence are absolutely within reach. The only variable left in this entire equation is how we choose to move forward. When that next difficult hand is dealt and the pressure is really on, are we going to leave it to luck and circumstance, or are we going to step up, own our actions, and master the play? It's a seriously powerful framework to keep in mind as you head into your next big interaction. Thank you so much for exploring this with me on today's Explainer, and I will see you next time.